Alright. So, next story is called Check This Thing Out.
Check this thing.
Yes. It is also by Scufflemoss. Greg and Tom are friends. They are going on a walk to check things out. Here is Greg. Here is Tom. They are friends. Check out this rock. Isn't it neat? If we stuck it on more, it looks like it has feet. Kind of look. Yes, isn't it funny? It looks like one of them blobfish. Have you seen the blobfish? They're kind of ugly. Check out this sign. No need to repeat. It tells you which way to go down the street. And in this case it is a one-way sign. See, the caretaker could learn a thing or two from this sign and not hit trolls. Going to move on. Check out this critter. I think it is fat. It would lose some weight if it got off of this mat. It is a fat dog. Hey, Pearl. You know what to do to stay fit. Check out this man. Is that a hat? That's a cool way to wear a bat. And he is wearing a hat that has a bat for baseball. And it has bat like the mammal. Have you seen a bat? No? Oh. Have you seen a bat? They have?
No, I did.
Oh, here is dog. There you go. Check out this house. It has a moat, a security system to make intruders float. Check out this grain. It's food for a goat. A great breakfast for mornings, especially includes oats. Here is goat. He's eating the oats. It's good. It's healthy breakfast. Recommended. It's good with banana and possibly scoop of peanut butter on top. It's healthy. Check out this stone. Excuse me, but I'm pretty sure that this is a nut. Check out this house. What a cool hut. That is a restroom. A place to sit your butt. Check out the time. I got to split. Today was fun. We should repeat it. We checked out some things. What a cool day. Let's make plans to get together and play. Here they are. Yay! He's done. So now we are going to read The Curious Chipmunk by Muriel Laskey, illustrated by Georgi Helms. This story was given to us by Perry from Ashes of Folly. Do not want to destroy it, so going to have to be careful. Once upon a time, there was a little chipmunk which lived with his mother and father beneath an old stone wall. He was a very curious little chipmunk, always prying and poking and asking questions. If it were raining, he would ask his mother and father, "Why is it raining?" If it were time for breakfast, he would ask his mother, "Why is it time for breakfast?" Well, it should always be time for breakfast. It is an important meal and you should eat. He was the most curious chipmunk in the world. One sunny morning, the little curious chipmunk decided to see what lay beyond the old stone wall. Hop, hop, hop! The curious little chipmunk started off his adventure. He passed a patch of buttercups, but that was nothing new. He'd seen them before. Here is the chipmunk. It's cute, yes? he passed a toadstool, but that was nothing new. Hoppity hop! The curious little chipmunk was off to see what lay beyond the stone wall. After a while, he came to a dark cave. I wonder what is inside the dark cave, said curious little chipmunk. So he hopped into the dark cave. At first, it was so dark that he could not see a thing. On he went deep into the dark cave, but still he did not see anything. It was black as tar in the cave. See, the black that they are talking about, shh, is like this. It was very dark. Suddenly, he saw two green eyes staring at him. "Oh!" he cried. The little chipmunk said, "Who are you?" "I am a dangerous wolf," he said in a deep voice. "Come a little closer, little chipmunk. You would make a very good breakfast." Spooky! But the little chipmunk turned around and ran out of the deep dark cave as fast as he could. He did not want to be breakfast for a wolf. He ran on and on. He passed a jack in the pulpit. On! What is a jack in the pulpit? It is a wildflower. Have not seen that. Oh, little mane. Adorable. Oh, but that was nothing new. He passed a big grey stone, but that was nothing new. As you can see, the chipmunk is actually pretty experienced for being little chipmunk.
I can actually.
By and by, he came to an old tin can with a yellow label on it. The label said tomatoes in bright red letters. See, it's like this. Tomatoes. I wonder what tomatoes smell like, said the curious little chipmunk. And he stuck his little nose into the empty tomato can. He did not smell anything. But the curious little chipmunk was not satisfied. He still wondered what tomatoes smelled like. What do tomatoes smell like?
We don't know. Smell fresh.
Fresh.
And these smell like coconuts.
Oh,
Sometimes they smell like Amy's house.
what they smell like? Oh! Okay, message to all the vegetarians out there. If you miss the taste of chicken, tomatoes work just fine. So he put his whole head in the can of tomatoes to smell. Sniff, sniff. He smelled the tomatoes. His curiosity was satisfied. They smell sour. So chicken smells sour. Oh, said the little chipmunk. So he started to pull his head out of the can, but it would not come. He was stuck in the tomato can. Oh, here he is.
He can lose oxygen
He could. That is very astute.
because his.
The poor little curious chipmunk. He pulled and pulled. He could not get out of the tomato can. He wriggled and squirmed. He kicked and squealed. But he could not get out of the tomato can. Suddenly, he felt something grabbing his tail. Maybe it was the big wolf from the cave. Oh! The curious little chipmunk kicked and squirmed. Hold still, said a kind voice, or I shall not be able to get you out. It was not the wolf. So the little curious chipmunk held still, and with one big tug of his long tail, he was out of the tomato can. Here he is. See, this is when he thought it was the wolf. There stood a big white rabbit. I wanted to smell tomatoes, said the little chipmunk, and I did. You ought to be ashamed, said the big white rabbit, poking into an old tomato can. If I had not come along, you might never have gotten out. The curious little chipmunk was ashamed. I won't poke into any old can ever again. He said, "Thank you for setting me free." But the curious little chipmunk went on. He wanted to see what lay beyond. He passed a spider web, but that was nothing new. He passed a strawberry patch, but that was nothing new. Then he came to a rippling brook. It trickled and twinkled as it flowed along. Here is the rabbit that saved him. You look like a good friend. Would trust this rabbit, probably. He seemed like a person that could hold your purse. What a lovely little brook, said the curious little chipmunk. I wonder what the water's like. He stepped close to the edge to see what the water was like. He stepped close. But his little paws were too short to reach the brook. He stepped closer to the edge, but his little paw was still too short. Then he leaned over and plop! He fell right into the brook. Poor curious little chipmunk. He was all wet. Oh, water was in his ears, and water was in his eyes. Water was in his hair. Water was all over him. He climbed out of the brook. Good thing that he took those swimming lessons last summer. His fur clung to his skin. He looked miserable. He shook himself and rolled in the grass until he was dry again. And then he went on to see the world. Here is the curious chipmunk. Here is the brook. It's good. He passed an oak tree and ate an acorn. Acorns are not really a source of food for human or for forest troll, but they are for chipmunk. He passed a cricket singing on a blade of grass, but that was nothing new. By the by, he came to a bee's nest that was hanging from a branch on an apple tree. That is Big Bee's nest, and the little curious chipmunk. I wonder if there are any bees in it. So he climbed up the apple tree to see. He climbed onto a branch and poked his nose into the bee's nest to see if there were any bees on it. There were bees. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. They were all busy as bees can be. And when they saw the curious little chipmunk, they began to shake their wings and buzz angrily. Oh! Here is chipmunk. This is bees over here. If you see something like this,
I saw a snake in my backyard.
Okay. Do not touch the snake. It is dangerous. And same thing with bees. If you see a bee's nest, do not touch it. The curious little chipmunk pulled his nose away. He turned around and scampered down the tree. And one by one, the angry bees flew out of their hive after the curious little chipmunk. He dashed to the ground. A cloud of bees flew around him. They buzzed and buzzed. They hummed and droned as they flew along, sharpening their little stingers. But the curious little chipmunk ran faster. Here they are. Here are the bees. He ran past the cricket and the oak tree. He ran past the brook, the strawberry patch and the spider web. He ran to the tomato can, the big grey stone and the jack in the pulpit. He ran to the dark cave, the toadstool and the buttercup patch. He ran straight back to the little house underneath the old stone wall. And the last thing he heard was the bees buzzing angrily because they could not catch him. But that night, when his mother said, "I suppose you are curious about what we are going to have for supper," the little chipmunk shook his head. "Oh no," he said. "I'm not curious at all." And he wasn't. The little chipmunk wasn't curious anymore. That is, at least not for a while. And that is it. It was a cute story about Chipmunk. So friends, hope you enjoyed story of checking things out and of curious little chipmunk. So friends, until next time, which will be next week, we are going to keep on scuffling. So check it out.